Hi, my name is Dave, and today I'm going to show you two Brandon telescopes, classic telescopes from the 1980s, plus an Imposter, which is also from about the same time period, but is not legitimately a Brandon. Can you guess which of these three telescopes is the Imposter? Many of you are already familiar with the Brandon 94mm. That's this one here. This is pretty much as it would have been shown in the 1980s in their catalogs and so forth. On the equatorial mount, or on the Altaz mount. By the way, this mount is very familiar. Looks a lot like a Unitron, doesn't it? As a matter of fact, everything about this telescope screams Unitron. And in fact, it has a clear genetic relationship to Unitron. This is actually the same size tube as Unitron. All the hardware here is actually, to be more precise, it's Nihon Seiko. So it's all Nihon Seiko, which is the same as the maker of the Unitron, except for the objective here, which is made by Roland Christen. So this is a real legitimate Brandon 94mm. This one here is not. Although it sure looks like it. It's got the same paint color, and this is a little confusing, deliberately confusing. This was a telescope sold by University Optics as a kit telescope. It's an 80mm. So this is the Imposter. This one is actually a Brandon also. And this Brandon has only a few things that make it similar to Nihon Seiko, to Unitron. The focuser here is very closely, probably made by Nihon Seiko. And this telescope was designed to be a quick and very portable telescope. And they advertised seeing is believing, meaning that the performance would be very, very much like a nearly color-free telescope, nearly chromatic aberration-free. And it's got an interesting behavior in that respect. When you focus this telescope, when you come outside focus to inside focus to directly at focus, it has characteristic blue fringes, lots and lots of blue fringes. Come to focus, it's a nice sharp focus, and almost all the chromatic aberration is gone. And then you expand it again and it goes to a reddish fringe. A lot of reddish fringes. So people become confused and they think it's not very good. Performance is not very good. Actually, performance is really good with this scope. It's you just have to get it right precisely to focus. Another interesting thing about this scope is the way this tube, look at the way it does that. This makes it ideal for a birder telescope. In birding, you're often looking at something and then something closer pops up, so you want to go back and forth with the focus very quickly. Questar designed one of their particular kinds of telescopes so that you could very quickly focus and then have a sharp focus within that, for birders specifically. This is the same kind of thing. For birding, you want to change the focal length very quickly, then you have a kind of a quick focus, or a quick sharp focus right here. So this is a beautiful telescope for birding. It's also very nice for astronomy if you accept that strange color performance, which some people have a hard time accepting that, but I don't particularly object to it. As long as you get it right sharp on focus, it's beautiful. This is the Brandon 94mm. It's about an F6, F7, something like that. It's a true apochromatic triplet. I've got a whole video dedicated to this particular scope. Hope you'll take a few minutes and check it out. This mount is a Nihon Seiko or Unitron style anyhow, it's just a beautiful, nice counterbalanced mount. They made something similar to this for a 4-inch, which is much bigger, much beefier, much more robust. This is actually just about right for this telescope. Really works out very, very nicely. This is not, unfortunately, this is not the original finder that would have come with the scope. Those are quite rare, but I was able to make one that's quite similar to the original. Okay, here's a little closer look at the Brandon 80mm, and this will show you. Unfortunately, when I got mine, this was broken, so I had to make this. It's missing. But this will show you a little bit about how it works. It is a very compact telescope. This thing is only 12 inches long. When you take the eyepiece out, slide this thing in, that's 12 inches long. You can't beat that for compactness if you're going to go backpacking or something. It's absolutely perfect for that kind of thing. Plus, it's got plenty of aperture. This is not a 60 or a 40. This is an 80 millimeter aperture. So it's plenty of aperture. And it's still very compact. This is the nice unique feature that I like so much about this scope. You can really zoom in on something quickly. You can get to focus very, very fast with this thing. Then you have your fine focus here, and it's a beautiful optic. The images on this thing are sharp as can be. Spotter scopes are not as particular, don't have to be as perfect as an astronomical telescope. And for spotting, this is more than adequate. But even as an astronomical telescope, it's quite good. Here's the University Optics kit telescope, so-called kit telescope. Here's a picture of the original ad for this kind of telescope. The original telescope came with a mounting block on the bottom, but it also fits beautifully in a Unitron 3-inch telescope cradle. So that's what I did with this one. The distinctive focuser here is very similar to a Unitron of almost exactly the same optical configuration. As a matter of fact, the focuser has been sold with other telescopes as well, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, the idea here is that you got a nice big beefy focuser, nice 80 millimeter refractor, f6 something. Really superb, and the optics on this thing are wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So there's a good close look at it. Let me give you a side-by-side comparison of the size of these two things. As you can see, the branded is considerably smaller when it's all folded up, and of course it comes out nice and long like that. There's a couple of tricks going on. First of all, this slides in. Second, the objective is right here. This is not a dew shield. The objective is right smack there, and heaven help you if you got dew problems. I guess you'd have to put something on there. But it's all very, very, very compact. Thank you for watching my tour of these two Brandon telescopes and the interesting Imposter.